They help them face the pain of their mortality with courage. Help them to say what they wanted to say and do as much as possible what they wanted to do. In other words, they help them to live lives that matter to the very end so that they could die in peace, feeling blessed. That Kawande special was poignant, but this week was also incredibly painful as we learned of the deaths of 3 young Muslim students, Yusur Abu Salha, her husband, Dea Barakat, and her sister, Razan Abu Salha. They were only 21, 23, and 19 years old, children. And their lives, these beautiful young people, their lives were senselessly executed. It doesn't matter whether it was a dispute over parking, or whether it was a hate crime against Muslims, or some strange mixture of the two. This was a tragedy of unspeakable proportion, because their lives mattered. They mattered deeply to their families. They mattered deeply to their communities, to the university, to the places where they served. They couldn't die in the same blessing with which they lived. So this past week also, there was an NPR segment that featured the words of Yusur Abu Salha. Her teacher had done a StoryCorps segment just last summer, and she talked about what a blessing it was to live in this country. She said, growing up in America has been such a blessing. And although in some ways I stand out, such as a hijab I wear on my head, there are still so many ways that I feel so embedded in the fabric that is our culture. And that's the beautiful thing, she said, that it doesn't matter where you come from. There's so many different people and so many different places of different backgrounds and religions, but here in America, we're all one culture. And it's beautiful to see people of different areas interacting, being family, being, one community. Their lives matter. And they got snuffed out. We're called to listen today, brothers and sisters, on this Bridge Sunday, to listen to the cries of the oppressed, to listen to the voices of those from whom we differ the most, to listen to our children, to listen to our spouses and partners, to listen to the deepest yearnings of our hearts for wholeness and peace and forgiveness. And we're especially being called today to listen to Jesus, our spiritual doctor, the great physician, the one who loves our souls and our bodies and all that is ours as he prepares for his death and for others. Dietrich Bonhoeffer, in his classic book, The Cost of Discipleship, said that when Christ calls a man or woman, he bids them come and die. To die to those things that keep us from God, to die to those things that keep us from living our one precious and fleeting life that has been given to us by God. Today, we are called to listen deeply and to pay attention to Jesus, because he's the one who didn't stay up on the mountain. He could have stayed there, basking in the glow, hanging out in those booths that Peter wanted to build, but instead Jesus chose to come down into all of our brokenness and disappointment, into our fear and our loss. And he did so in order to save us from death, to snatch us from that old enemy, and to open up the gates to eternal life for us and for our salvation. Jesus came down that mountain so that when the words that were were spoken yesterday at Helen's funeral are spoken over us, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. So that when those who stand around our graves are grieving and hear the words, "Rest eternal, grant her, O God, and let light perpetual shine upon her," when our families and friends are grieving, we will want the world to know that our lives matter, that it made a difference that each and every one of us lived because we shone the light of Jesus Christ into the world. So maybe on this Transfiguration Day, it's not so bad to preach after all, although I'm counting it a blessing that Pastor Blake will do it next year. And on this day, it is good to be here, to remember that not only is Jesus being transfigured, but God is calling us to be transfigured too, to be changed so that we might become the men, the women, the children, the youth that God made us to be, people of deep compassion and love and forgiveness and hope. And until we are called to our eternal home, let this be our prayer, this beautiful prayer that Charles Wesley wrote, that good old Methodist, that we will sing in just a minute. Finish then thy new creation, pure and spotless, let us be. Let us see your great salvation perfectly restored in thee, changed from glory into glory, till in heaven we take our place, till we cast our crowns before thee, lost in wonder, love, and praise. Amen.